Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, on behalf of your Denver-based podcast crew, we appreciate you joining us for the Friendly Vibes.
Coming to you live from TSS Universidad. It's Top Shelf Studios. My name is Sean Conley. This is Intolerable. Usually I'm bad with intros, but we got them all in there, folks, so how about that? Let's crack a beer. Let's open a carton of milk for this guest. My goodness. perhaps competing for Kindest Guest of the Year, and it's, we're slipping in days before the end for this recording. Stand-up comedian, I guess graduate of Second City in Chicago. Very funny, kind, educated, smart man in general. Great dude. Pat Treuer. Give it up for him, folks.
Ooh, wow, Sean, thanks to be here. A real pleasure. I'm really, really happy to be here right now. And thank you for the absolute fantastic accommodations. My favorite beverage, fat-free milk.
Dude, I'll be able to joke about that for a while. That is, I think, now, before it was Baja Blast, was the weirdest drink request.
Yeah. Is this the first time it's a milk?
Skim milk might beat it.
Yeah, this is, I drink more milk than water.
Well, I mean, it's good for your bones. It's good for health.
Yeah. Oh, buddy, this is such a treat. Wow.
Thanks for being here, man.
I really want to know. I want to know more about it. And I know you've asked me, but I have so many questions for you, man. Can we go through the choices? Well, first of all, the Nuggets.
Yeah, you feel free to interrogate me. I'll try not to rant.
Well, how was the game? I watched the fourth quarter last night, and I watched the post game with coach saying that he was mad he had put the starters back in.
I think for real. Yeah, he seems very frustrated, and Joker seems very frustrated. And, occasional a win-loss over the course of 2 weeks is not working for them.
Right.
There's no consistency.
Having like the season of his life, and the team doesn't seem to be carrying their weight.
We got all-time productivity from this guy, and we can't even get enough guys every single night to play defense. It's very frustrating.
I was on my high school freshman B team and didn't make the sophomore team, so I'm pretty much an expert on basketball.
I was a D bench rider. I got bonus minutes when we were blowing teams out or getting blown out. Yeah.
There was one time where we had only 4 of us at practice because I think when the Avs won the Stanley Cup and everyone went to the parade, and the coach made me sit the bench in practice while he took the 5th spot to show everything.
Coach.
Yeah. I was just the big guy at the time that he was like, you just stand under the basket.
Yeah.
You grab the ball, you throw it back up. That was my only role.
I was a thicker kid most of my life.
Were
you a bigger dude? Did you play football?
I've been like this.
Offensive line?
No, Mom did not let me play football. I played lacrosse. Yeah, I mean, I am grateful. I was mad at the time. Yeah, but I've been basically this size since I'm 12 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, and so basketball, and then I liked lacrosse because I wanted a physical contact sport, and I just like it. It's a fun sport to play and watch. And then I swam.
Well, I don't know do you have your phone in your right pocket? I don't know if it
it
might be just getting on that cord.
My apologies.
No worries. That's all I was hearing there. Sorry about that.
No. Wow. You are good at this, buddy.
For a while, I probably would have let that run for a minute or two. But yeah, there's the refs showing, folks. How about that?
When did you start working, learning all the sound?
Let's see. We started it in November. Yeah, so like around December of 21, I would have gotten this kind of first going.
What was the most challenging part of learning this?
I think it was I thought it would be, it's like anything where you think there's only 3 gates to the finish, and it's there's 14 gates. And so I had to learn what does a compressor do, and what is a limiter, and do I need to run an EQ before the compressor? And so I had to kind of step back and be like, all right, on a basic audio level, I need to just learn so I can understand when I read a forum post or a solution guide what they're even talking about.
Yeah.
And so after, a little bit of reading and then messing up a few times, it was okay, this is working. And then it's oh, can we get better? And then it's okay, well, this is workable. And then literally when it became audio workable, repeatable process steps level, I was okay, that's good enough.
Yep.
Let's start repping through. I don't need to worry about getting it perfect to that degree. I want to do more rep. Let's start putting them out.
It's a pass-fail. Pass. This works. On to the next thing. Yes. This is what I needed. This is the purpose it has. I don't believe your goal is to be a super audio engineer, but you have other aspirations where this is a brick in the road.
Right.
To get there.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, it's a tough one to learn. And I feel like I commend you on that because I understand the importance of it for most comedians, like it seems to be for us to make our own path. We have to learn all these side things that really are, I believe, underappreciated. Like a comedian's understanding of the soundboard, or whoever's running the soundboard at a show. It's like I've really started thanking the sound people, thanking the audio engineers, because I was mentioning I got that Rodecaster Pro Duo, and I've been learning this. And so I'm really fascinated with your learning process.
Well, it sounds like learning this a lot better than I even know it, to like incorporate it with, you said, vocal changers and sound drops with your act.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's just something like a challenge, and I've been trying to draw on just who I am as a person. And right. So you got, I don't know, can you see? Yeah, you can see a light up, but on my sound, but can we get some sound effects
giving
going?
height.
Yep.
That's kind of sick.
Full circle, though, bunch of illegals.
That's my favorite one. Nick
Oh, a bunch of illegals.
Full
Terrific.
circle, though, bunch of illegals.
Just talking about Tyson Chicken Factories, which I know you don't like. So there we go.
Yes, thank you. Wow, terrific. Wow, did you prep that for this show?
No, but that's it's always on the board.
Just serendipitous.
I've got my grandpa still on here.
Come sit down.
Nice.
He's now passed, but now he's on my soundboard forever. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, I got the opportunity during the pandemic to work with the comedian Morgan J.
Yeah.
And
gosh, he's talented. I haven't met him, but his videos and the way he's able to
he's so
command the
talented.
room. Oh my goodness.
He's so fun, funny, and incredibly talented artist all around. And during the pandemic, we worked together. Right, I have a business of doing corporate comedy shows, and we did like 400 Zoom shows.
Wow.
And Morgan J., I actually almost missed out on working with him because he had reached out to me cold, and I said no because I just had bad experiences working with people I didn't know. And so a week later, another comic by the name of Brittany Schmidt, who I had worked with, she said, "Hey, let me recommend are you taking recommendations? I'd like to introduce you to Morgan J." I had no idea who he was. And then it was like, you were right mid-pandemic. So he was just like he hadn't yet taken off. And he has a mastery of a mixing board. And he would come on these Zoom shows and play some music and put his vocal effects on. And I watched him make tens of thousands of people laugh on Zoom. Like, he wasn't telling jokes. He was just having a really good time.
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me. And when I saw him, I asked him, "Hey, how do you do that? What's the setup?" He's like, "Well, it's this and this." And for whatever reason, maybe laziness, maybe fear, I still don't know, but it was just too intimidating to me to think about that. At the time. And then I just, now being here in Denver, just being another, like, basically a basic bitch of white guys.
And so at the time, were you in Chicago when this happened?
No, I was back.
Okay,
I was in Breckenridge.
Okay.
Yeah. And
nice.
so, yeah, because I was working.
That's a good place to be stuck, to be honest.
It was incredible. Yeah, I was in Chicago, right? The pandemic hit, and I was like, I got to get out of Chicago. And then I wanted to move to the mountains, and the business took off in a way that I never anticipated. So I was able to make a living, like a full-time living, doing Zoom comedy shows for corporate groups.
Wow.
It was awesome. So I do like, I did 400 over like 2 years. So sometimes it would be like 3 or 4 a week.
Yeah.
And they'd start at like 2 p.m. and I'd be done by 4 p.m. And it was incredible. So I'd like go skiing in the morning or hiking and then do like pop on Zoom. Got to work with all these incredible comedians and I learned so much. I call it, I was like attending an online university that I was getting paid to attend. Because I believe in paying comedians really well if they're talented, because I see how little they get paid and how much work they put in, and we put in, I should say, and that really frustrated me. And so I had an opportunity to take what I knew from the business world, charge a good amount of money, and then pay comedians really well. And as a result of that, I started, like, all the levels of comedians started going up, because I would, if I was working with you and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm working with Pat, he pays really well." I would only ask people to do 5 to 8 minute sets. And, maybe pay them like anywhere from $300 to $500 for that.
Wow.
And so then because of that,
that's money you can make, actually feed your family, make a living.
Yeah.
On. It was significant.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then I just kept getting introduced to all these comedians, and I had we can call it a podcast. It was an Instagram live.
Okay.
Where I called it Comedians in Quarantine Having Cocktails.
I love that.
And I just started reaching out to all these comics that I didn't know, right? So like I reached out to a lot Alonzo Bowden early on, and he said, "Yeah, I'm not doing anything. Sure, I'll interview you." So I kind of established a rapport with him, and then my business started taking off, and I started just charging company or like presenting higher prices. Yeah. And they started saying, I would present a higher price just to get them to take a lower price.
So I can get this across to the younger, if anyone's like a Zoomer listening, a scroller, You've seen the videos, folks, of those people that are like, I charge this much an hour and I get this client, and then I go over to client B and I say, well, now my price is this much. And it's like an upward step ladder of what you're doing when you're building out a clientele base. But you're doing it with comedy. Typically, I don't think that's how you get to do it with comedy, and so the circumstances of the pandemic presented this.
Yes, yeah,
that's so beautiful, dude.
And I had I had no idea. Right, I had spent a year and a half. I'd started the business before the pandemic. Spent a year and a half trying to sell comedy to corporate groups because I was in corporate sales for 12 years, and everyone said no, it's too risky. And then the pandemic hit, and people started reaching out to me, being like, "Hey, we have all these boring Zoom meetings. Can you bring some comedians?" Okay, sure. And so, first show we did, I didn't know what to charge. I charged $300. I brought 5 comics. I paid them $25, $30 each. And because everyone was at home, like in the show, like partners were watching together, like, oh, that's really fun. Oh, I'm going to tell my company about it.
Oh, my God, you're genius.
And so then it just spread. Genius. And then I had a really good friend who's a search SEO optimist. Nice. And he said, I can help you put together a little Google campaign. And within 24 hours, like we started getting hits on our website, just asking for it. And so I just kept charging more and more. And I just read a bunch of books on pricing. And there's just a simple concept called an anchor point. So if you want someone, let's say something, you have you want someone to pay $50, give them 3 options. Give them a $100 option, give them a $50 option, give them a $20 option. And then they'll say, oh, $50, at least it's not $100.
Right.
So I would do that just planning to get the $50. But then all of a sudden, one day I remember this, a customer said, oh, we want the $100 option. And it was actually a lot more than $100. Right. Like so much to the point where I was like, oh, I think they put too many zeros on the email. And I like double checked it. And then I was like, oh, I have to deliver on this. So then I like reached out to Alonzo and these other comedians that I'd interviewed, like, hey, I got this thing. Do you want to do it? They really didn't know me other than a podcast interview.
Yeah.
And they said, sure, we're not doing anything else.
That's so.
And then I just, it's really important to me to treat them well. Like, and because of that, people like working with me. I like doing what I say. And I appreciate people who do the same. And that was it. So to the very long sidetrack to that led me to Morgan J. I watched him use the soundboard. It was incredible. It was intimidating. And then I was just trying to figure out something different to do down here in Denver and something that's challenging and new. And one day I was walking down an aisle in Best Buy and I saw the board. And I've always loved a good air horn. It's so dumb, but it's so funny to me every time. Every time I hear someone press a button in there, it makes me beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, it's great.
And so I just sat there in the aisle just pressing the buttons, being like, wait a minute, I think I can do this. And like thinking about what Morgan J would do. And, he's like, I think he sold out 2 shows at the Paramount in March.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, what if I could do this live? I've seen it in the virtual environment. He uses a lot of auto-tune. He's also an incredibly talented musician. Maybe I could use this in a live act. I think I can figure this out. And so just like you were saying, like just watching YouTube videos, Reddit, like Facebook groups. And I figured it out now. So, and I have a little tray that like almost like the Las Vegas cigarette girls.
Yes.
And I figured out how to do like wireless power and everything.
You're like a one-man band.
Trying to be. Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
And I love that. Like that's my goal of like, I love watching clips of the musicians who bring everything out and either they have like the little Lumi keyboard.
Right.
They create a little loop on the spot.
Yeah.
I think that's so fun because I've been trying to learn how to play the piano for the past couple of years. And I was like, how can I combine all of this in something that is going to be repeatable, but different every time? Right. Because I really like crowd work.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of comics like to dump on it, but
your style is just so comfortable.
Oh, thanks. I just love it so much.
I don't know if I have, I'm poor to always try to describe someone else and give compliments, but like you have such a comfortable style and I've seen you do, just jokes, just, your act, just stories and then just vibing with what is in that show that night. It's so cool.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. The comfortable. That's interesting. I appreciate that feedback because I get so excited when I'm on stage. Like right beforehand, like a lot of times my heart will just start racing, and I love it. And for a long time, and sometimes I still will, I'll come out like charging hard. But a lot of these comedians I was working with are like, Pat, if you just slow down a little bit, it will make a huge difference in your act because you're spitting out
That's
4
my
jokes.
problem. Yeah, I need to slow. Always could reel myself in more. Like that's my early like feedback for myself. Like listening to myself back after a year of now, if like whatever it's been. Oh man, I'm like slow the fuck down.
Just
dude.
slow down.
Say the words the right way, one at a time.
Right. Yes. And a group of strangers is not inside of your head. They're not
Prefrontal lobe. I'm telling you, man. It was a weird thing.
That's one of your favorite words, isn't it?
No, I recently it's been aperture that I've been getting grilled by guests on.
Aperture?
Yeah, like changing your like brain aperture specifically in terms of like thinking in different ways. You know, there's IQ and then there's like aperture.
I like that word.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest. I didn't know what it meant until you just said it right now.
See, I guess I grew up around photographers, so I probably would have known.
Aperture.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Oh my goodness. I am so bad. I'm of the, they gave us phones too young, man. I don't know how to spell. It's been I've had the autocorrect on my computers and in school for assignments and no, come on.
Yeah.
A-P-E, it's probably E-T-U-R-E. Yeah.
Aperture?
Yeah. E-A-T-U-R-E.
Yeah.
Is that?
It sounds right.
Goodness gracious.
I don't know.
That's a great. I'm so poor at spelling.
I
should
will
be a
tell
2025 goal.
when someone says a word I don't know, and then they tell me a definition, it's always my go-to question is, "Oh, how do you spell that?"
Ha ha ha. Instinct, folks.
Aperture. Yeah.
Trust it more
A-P-E-R-T.
frequently.
Wow, nicely done, sir.
I should trust it more frequently.
Okay, so aperture.
Yeah, like how big the opening of the camera lens is. And it dictates like what you're capturing or how much you're capturing or in what way you're capturing. And so I think applying that in a mental sense is helpful for young people.
Wow.
Because we get bogged down by like everything has to be one way or I have to like do this systematic normal life or, well, I'm not married yet. I don't own a home. And it's like, dude, have some aperture.
Have some Wow, I'm going to start using that word.
Yeah, throw it around. It's yours. Take it.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate that. Yeah, it as I've gotten older, old Papa Pat here.
How old are you, if you don't mind?
I'm 42.
Okay.
And I am starting to finally realize, listen to the people who have done the things before. They've done it for, I mentioned Alonzo. So for purposes of what I'm about to say, he's been doing it for decades. And he's told me things like, crowd work. Just, 1, listen. 2, repeat what they have to say. And half the work is done just by doing that.
Because most people didn't hear it the first time.
They didn't hear it. And then when you repeat what they have to say, sometimes you'll just find yourself as a natural reaction. You'll just say it in a tone that will make people laugh. You're not even trying to be funny. You're just trying to like process what's being said. And then also I realized, you're buying time by doing that to come up with something. So it's like an installed, a built-in way.
It's part of the scheme. We're installing it for the Sunday defense.
Coach Gruden. To then buy yourself your brain time to then come up with something to say. And I was like, just listen to like people like that who are professionals. They sell out and like, don't think that I'm going to be this new like crazy innovator of like, I'm not going to come up with anything that's absolutely brand new. It's all been done. It's just going to be through my aperture. Is that? I felt good saying that.
Yeah.
It's going to be through my lens, and that's going to be the difference of it. And so just slowing down, talking with people, and I was like, well, how can I bring some fun energy back into that comfortable style an air horn board. Like, how can I do things? And like figuring out ways, how can I record the audience and they don't know they're being recorded and then play their sounds back later?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's like figuring out like, all the wireless XLR transmitters. Like, how can I do this? And like pass a microphone around the audience and like have them right there. And then if it's a bad audience member, I can just mute it, and like quickly shut that down. But in the underlying foundation, I've also realized is that I can't just rely on the board. If it doesn't work, I still have to be funny. Yeah. I still have to be able to do my plan. So, like, for example, I did this taping in Chicago a week and a half ago, and the air horn wasn't working. And it was like, okay, the structure of what I'm doing now, I just have to pretend like I'm not even going to address it. I'm on their stage. There's tape of me, and I'm like, and I can see my face be like, is this curse free? Yeah. Oh, darn.
No, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a free speech zone.
Oh, fuck. Like, it's not working.
Yeah.
No problem. I'm not relying on this part right now. This was just
So you just took a breath and took a moment.
And like, stick to my plan. Yeah. Right. I can do everything without the board, this part, no problem. So it's like build an act. That's what I'm doing. Build my act. How can the board complement it?
Yes.
And then if it's like, because if it goes out or whatever.
That's so funny you say that, because Craig Robertson came through South and I got to be there and produce his weekend of shows. Wow. And something I learned is we had a failure and one of his pedals went out on one of the nights for the second show. And I mean, the pedal was a foundational part of, like, it added accoutrement to every part of what he was doing. Yeah. But the way he was able to find another way to make part of his piano a different kind of pedal for him or whatever it was, and how it, he didn't let the audience, even though he was, for a second or two maybe frustrated with his pedal not working and figuring it out, like, the audience doesn't like lose any bit of the luster of what the show was for them.
They don't know.
So beautiful.
Yeah, it's the importance of preparation.
Yeah. Oh man, I got to see that in that moment. I was like, wow, what a pro.
Wow. What are some other acts that you've seen or people where you knew the behind the scenes and something wasn't working and you saw them pivot?
I mean, recently, thank goodness. I mean, everything's been smooth. It has been when I was like, early in my first year of doing it, and it's like an act that has a musical or another element that I haven't done enough reps with. Yeah. So it's like I don't have that fallback familiarity of troubleshooting in the moment. Yeah. And so it's like, you can't get the troubleshooting in the moment reps until something fucks up. Right. So it's like kind of like walking to your death. It's like, you're going to get hung at some point.
Walking to your death.
Like you like are just like in a corral around the hanging square, and it's like people are getting pushed in, and like you're probably going to get pushed in, but like you don't know when or if, but like you're probably going to get pushed in.
Yeah.
But like once you're done, it's done, and then you don't have to be in that place anymore, type of deal, because you adapt and figure it out.
It's so important. If like I just like on the crowd work side, a lot of people believe that they're not preparing. Like it's the people. I believe that the comedians who are really great at crowd work, like there's so much prep work that they do, and it's unknown. Albeit reading a ton to have a wide range of knowledge and depth, a bigger aperture.
Yeah. Maybe not aperture, but like
I whiffed it.
Bigger range.
Bigger
they
range.
Can like come from like close to far. Like they got the telephoto.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Oh man, buddy.
Jesus.
I wish I had these.
Please, Pat, don't make me do camera puns the whole time.
No,
I'm better than this, Pat. I swear.
I was a contestant on the $100,000 pyramid, and one of the
some of my audience is too young, so you're gonna have to give us a little bit more than just that. What's that? It's a game show.
It's a game show hosted by Michael Strahan, originally hosted by Dick Clark.
That's what I want.
From the 70s, and it's a show that I watched. Yeah, it's back, and I believe ABC and Hulu, and one of the categories was photography terms.
Okay. Oh, right? No way. And when you were on?
Yeah. And it was in the winner's circle. And it was like a tough one for me in the moment when you're in that environment where it's real and like you're like, I can win. Like I was in a position where I could win $50,000 in a minute. And if I had to get my celebrity partner to guess 6 things. And I only got him to get 4 out of 6. So I won $9,500.
Okay. Wow.
That stress is real.
Yeah.
It's wild. But anyway, so that's what is bringing me back. And then to give the context for everybody. Yeah, it's just a simple guessing game. You get paired with a celebrity partner.
Okay.
You have a competitor, another civilian.
Yeah.
And so you do a round with, like, if you're my celebrity partner, my competitors with another celebrity partner.
Yes. Okay. This
we
is
go.
coming.
And I have to get you to guess, like, oh, right now you are drinking a. It's a Mexican
lager.
But the type is what?
Oh, it's Pilsner.
No, but like overall, the general category.
A beer.
Yes. Okay. So like I get to beer, right? And
Gotcha.
so if you do better than your competitor, and you can't say the word.
Yes. Okay.
Right? And I tell this on stage often because it's such a unique experience of like. I felt so much pressure because I was in a spot where I was like, oh, this is going to be the ultimate Pat Treuer story. Like I need money right now. Like I'm going to go in, I'm going to win. You can potentially win up to $150,000. I'm like, I'm going to bring it home.
Wow.
And I used to be kind of arrogant about, I thought I was way more intelligent than I am. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so easy, And then the second word was mud. And the clue I gave to my partner, you cannot say the word. And I said wet mud. And
wet sand, I think you were going for, right?
I was going, wet dirt. It's so many other things. It's not like I've spent hundreds of hours thinking of all the things I could have said. And in my face, in my mind, I remember going like, you are so dumb. Your friends are going to make fun of you for the rest of your life, which they waited a year to make fun of me because I took it really hard for joking so big.
Right.
Anyway.
I don't know about that, but you came up out of the mud, let's be honest.
Yeah. And so anyway, anytime somebody says something about like one of the categories, my mind immediately goes,
oh, mud.
Yeah.
Mud. So your sleep paralysis demon is just a big mud monster then?
100%, yes. Yeah. And steamy was the other one. How do you describe steamy without saying steamy?
A sauna after you throw water on the rocks. That would be my best guess.
But yes, that's right. And that would be the winner circle, which is like when you can make the money. So you do your guessing round, and then you go to the winner circle, which has a slightly set of different rules. And one of them is you can't use prepositions. Okay. So we couldn't use after.
Okay.
So I said like a hot, relaxing room. And I didn't say sauna, and then I just choked. I could have thought of like, a hot love scene, a tea kettle spout.
Yes,
yeah, and I didn't. And like I spent.
Is it Dr. Steamy Mick? Doctor? Could you do Dr. Mick?
Dr. Mick?
Wait,
who is Dr. Mick?
Isn't it like a McSteamy or something? It feels like that's a Simpsons poll. Maybe they're like also maybe that's like like not even like a secondary pull, but it's like pulling from something of something. That's how like my generation's knowledge of the world and internet works. Is like we see something and a joke about a thing that's a little bit removed from the truth, and then our understanding is like, oh yeah, this is what happened in reality, right? It's like, no, that was the Simpsons and how they portrayed reality.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
that's fair. Most of my knowledge is entirely based on movie quotes.
Movie quotes.
Yeah,
nice.
That's most of my conversations with my friends is 80% movie quotes.
Yeah,
and then 20% nonsense.
Yeah. You strike me as a very smart person, and I know you're joking around about the hits to your ego and intelligence of that. What did you study in school?
I went to undergrad, and I studied, it was called Spanish for the International Professions.
Wow.
Which is basically just a business degree in Spanish.
Yeah.
My mom told me I could study whatever I wanted to as long as I studied Spanish at the same time, which I'm very grateful to her for that. And so I became fluent in Spanish. I lived in Spain for a bit of time. And then after college, I got a job when I began the corporate stint I was, an international sales manager. And so I would travel around. South America was my territory for a long time. And I would go to South America. Like I got to go on a 6-week trip to South America, and the company paid for it. I was 26. Dang. It was awesome.
That's
so I'd have business meetings in Spanish, and then they'd take me out, and I get to explore all these really cool cities that I'd heard about my whole life. And then I reached a point where I kind of figured everything out of that job, and I wasn't really working that much. I was doing everything. I was delivering. Everything was being met. Everybody was happy. but I just found myself with a lot of free time. So I went back to school and I got my master's in international business, which was fun because
online, or was that
at CU Denver? That was in person. Yeah.
In person. Okay.
And I enjoyed that very much because it was like, I really wanted to be at school. It wasn't like undergrad. And I know this is like a first world thing to say, was just what you did. That was expected of me. I was in a fortunate position where my family was able to pay for my education. So I'm very grateful for that. And, but that was just like, that's what you do. I was the first one to go to college and graduate in the family. And so that was the expectation, was their education was highly valued, which I'm glad it was. And then I went back to school for the grad school, and I really wanted to be there. I remember I didn't have to take very many notes because I was genuinely interested in what was being said. So it was easy for me to remember things. It wasn't like a degree of intelligence or anything. It was just like, wow, this is really a great conversation, right? Like, I'm having a great time right now. This is very easy to remember.
Yeah.
If I can get aperture right.
Yeah. We can call back to the bad puns later.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's how it felt like for most of grad school. And then, I just kept working, and I was like, it was nice. I got a new job because I had a master's. I got more money, which at the time was important to me. Yeah, but ultimately I wasn't doing comedy at all. And then that's like what spurred the move to Chicago. I was like, well, what am I doing with my life? I was like 34.
Where were you living? And here in Denver?
I was here in Denver, yeah, because I'm born and raised here in Denver. And then the Second City allure was there of like, I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live. And I had done stand-up a couple times when I was 22 at Comedy Works New Talent Night. And my third time I bombed. I thought I bombed. In my mind, it was the worst. And I actually saw the tape some years back, and I was like, that's not a bomb. I've seen but in my mind, it was the worst thing. So I stopped doing stand-up for 12 years. And I just went into that working world because that's what I thought you had to do. I was like, this is my path. This is it. The proverbial.
Honey, this is a cautionary tale. I hope you watch this episode.
You too can end up here.
I could be stuck 10 years in the corporate world if I'm not careful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
no, I think but that's part of what allowed you then, I think, an opportunity arise with comedy into the context of the world, and you were able to capitalize it in a way that you probably otherwise wouldn't have if you were just a comedian for those 12 years.
I agree. Yes, I definitely, my skills as a comedian were handicapped. However, my relatability factor and understanding of the world was improved greatly. And I think I'm not a special comedian. I'm not unique in any particular way. I do feel I have a big advantage, and I'm able to relate to a lot more people who have office jobs and who have careers of sorts, or travel. When I talk to a crowd, where are you from? Chances are good I have been there.
Right.
Because I was traveling so much for work because I had to go there.
Right.
And so instead of I hate it when comedians be like, where are you from? I'm from London. Cool.
Why did you ask the question?
Why did you ask the question if you're just going to say cool?
Like, dig in, be curious.
Even if you haven't been there, ask at least 2 questions. But just my ability to tell stories of, I love it. When I've been fortunate to go to Sweden a lot. My best friend lives there. And every so often someone from Sweden will be in the audience, and I can tell stories.
So you got your 5 minutes on Sweden. I
got 5 minutes on Sweden, and my name is Pat, and in Swedish, pata is tit. And so that's always and then that's just a funny coincidence there. And so I am grateful for that time, and I try and pull as much from that into my act now. And it's also put me in a position where it's I don't have to, thankfully for the moment, I'm secure, and I don't have to worry about paying all my bills right now because I didn't blow everything I made. So, comedy, you don't make a lot of money.
None money. None money.
Negative.
None money, almost negative money or none money almost forever, if not forever.
Yep. Yeah. And so it's okay, I don't have that stress right now. And I'm very grateful for that. And also because of the business I started, I knew how to do all of that because of my experience.
I don't want to cut you off, but no. I did have to. I wasn't just looking at my phone.
No problem.
These smoked wings, Pat, they're ready.
I'm very excited. We take a...
Surely we're going to pause and we're going to eat them together.
Okay.
And then we'll come back for a little after-hour segment.
Okay.
You've listened to the radio before in your life?
Oh, yeah. You bet.
Well, we're going to kick it to break with our signature station identification. You're listening to 91.1. Oh shit, was that another plane? We'll be right back. We're back.
All right.
We're live. It's the After Hours show.
Happy to be here, buddy.
Tummies are full.
Oh, very full. Fantastic wings here.
How do you rate these wings, good sir?
I'm going to go 12 out of 12 because I think I ate 12 in 12 minutes.
Nice.
They were everything I want a wing to be.
Well, if you have any more funny or interesting people in your life, and I know you know lots, and if they like wings, send them my way. I'm
going to tell you, I appreciate that they weren't very I like a messy wing, but they weren't messy. And it was, everything stayed on the wing. All the seasoning, the spice, everything nice.
Dude.
Great job, man.
It's Christmas time. It's hard to keep the nice stuff on there.
Oh, and the sauce I think I had 6 with the sauce, 6 without, and 2 totally different and equally pleasurable experiences.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a great review. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks for making them, man. I really appreciate that.
I'm
and
sorry
the milk.
to the fans. I did not put microphones on us. I did not record a Patreon eating portion for this one. It would have been one of the all-time... Well, at the Christmas party last year, Pat, someone walked up to me and go, I like the pod. This is probably someone that's never listened to the pod.
Oh, sure.
They go, I like the pod, but I just wish I could hear the guests eating. Like you're a psychopath.
I'm going to tell you, nobody likes watching me eat. I still will choose a restaurant and eat next to somebody. I've got terrible.
Well, I was like,
that's why I appreciate the lack of mess.
Well, I was like, okay, so I got the lav mics and sometimes I clip them up, but that would have been one of the hottest eating segments of all time. But it's just for us to enjoy it because that's how life should be. Go have some fun with your friends out there, folks.
Just imagine the worst.
Make some connections.
No, it's just been a really nice afternoon, and this setup is great. It's inspiring, honestly, because what we were talking about during our eating is just the importance of learning how to do things yourself, and the things that I think we take for granted as performers. For example, the audio people. And, if you have bad audio at a show, that's going to ruin everything.
Yeah.
And if you get a little bit of feedback on a bit, that can ruin a whole joke that you spent years developing.
Wow.
And so I think learning how to do everything yourself is a huge asset. And I recommend, here's some unsolicited advice for people
That's
watching.
what this show's about.
Is learn how to do as much as the process as possible, editing clips and filming yourself, and learn the basics of a soundboard and what happens, and if you can run a show and understand that, so when something happens that you can correct it, or you can set it up on your own and you can take care of everything yourself instead of being reliant on other people because you've worked too hard on what you really love to let someone else ruin it with something that could have been easily avoided.
Yes.
If you had just taken the time to do it yourself. And right now we're also talking about if you film something and you have someone else edit it, many times you might have to wait up to a year to get that back. And that's going to stunt your growth and development and your ability to get out there. Because that's just the way it is right now, which I think is great. It's no longer people. There are still people that are gatekeepers. It's now an algorithmic gatekeeper. However, with that, we have the opportunity to get to a lot more people than we did before.
Yeah.
I actually like an algorithmic gatekeeper versus a person gatekeeper. Because
right.
Most gatekeepers I've met that are people are not comedians. And I
don't know comedy.
Yeah, I think they're trash, quite frankly.
And they're probably injecting some shadiness because that's a necessary part of the entertainment industry in a lot of, facets, nearly every facet, it sounds like.
Yeah, but if they're a comedian, then there's some gatekeepers that are comedians and have a good understanding and they treat people well, then okay, sure.
Kind of how I had a stripper on the pod way ages ago, and they said that some strippers own strip clubs and those are the best strip clubs to work at. And all the strippers talk about how those are the best strip clubs to work at.
Yeah.
And people who are comics that own clubs love working with... those comics that work at those clubs love them.
100%. I would always rather work with another comedian on a show than a non-comedian because the non-comedians will bring stuff up that doesn't matter. That's a distraction. That's it's frankly stupid. And it's okay, well, if this is your first couple shows, okay, I'm not going to expect you to know things. But if you've been running it for a long time and you're bringing some stuff up that has no business being brought up here, you're ruining the show. You're ruining this for everybody. You're creating unnecessary stress, which is a it's a bit of a rant for me.
No, please, go back, go.
It's just outrageous.
Rant.
Like
This is your place to rant.
Okay.
Intolerable.
Yeah, I just want to say, shut the fuck up. Like I'm on this show. You have me here for a reason. You know what you're getting. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell the other if you don't know what you're getting, you shouldn't have had them on the show. If you have a paying audience and you put people up that you've never seen before in any capacity, that's on you.
Yeah.
That's your fault.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can do that and be self-respecting, right?
Oh, buddy.
I'm sure that's like a large part of the industry, but...
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of really incompetent people out there. And then they rake a lot of the money, and then these comics have to work forever, and they don't get paid, and they're the show. But it's, yeah, okay. That's that one thing gets me really heated really fast.
Well, I've got a pipe dream and... an acorn in the soil, folks, of owning a series of comedy clubs with founders in the Midwest, up and down the Mississippi.
Okay, what's the first one look like?
They're all going to be called Joy Peddlers.
Joy Peddlers?
Because there's lots of bike culture in these, Mississippian-based small towns and small cities on rivers.
Yeah, isn't there the big ride across Iowa as well?
Yes.
Like a big event?
It's called, my dad would have my cake, Ragbri.
Did you say he would have your cake?
He'd be taking my cake away for not knowing
and
this.
he'd eat it too.
And he'd eat it too.
What? Okay. Tell me, okay, so you've thought about this. This is something you really want to do.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
What does it look like when you walk in the door?
Oof. See, I don't have that kind of the vision yet. No, I'm too early stage with I don't have that kind of a...
Okay, tell me what you see so far.
I see like an old abandoned venue that's like not being used that could like help a local community by just bringing in people to laugh every night. Hopefully it's got low ceilings.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to have low ceilings.
But it's ideal. It's ideal.
Makes it a little bit better.
More intimate environment.
I would love if there was a way to have a good outdoor space where people could pull up on bikes, kind of keep all the bikes outside. And maybe there's also outdoor shows in the summertime.
Yeah, I love outdoor shows.
Maybe overlooking the river or some nice area of the city there, wherever we place this club.
Yeah.
It needs to be, I guess, south enough. Humidity. I want to build a dome around the venue that will mitigate the humidity and make it seem like it's Colorado.
Wow.
When guests come.
Okay, that's a big aspiration with the dome.
Yeah, very Burnsian, Simpson.
Yeah.
Remember how my brain was trained.
Sure. Yeah, that's all right.
No, that'd be sick.
Well, all right. So
that's the only downfall of this is kind of a plan is I don't know if I can endure them. I went to 4 years of college in the Midwest, and I love the Midwest, and both my parents from Iowa, but yeah, I don't know. It's too humid. I can't do it.
Let me ask you this. Yes, it's a lovely and admirable goal to just want to bring joy to people, but why do you really want to open clubs or a club?
To cultivate scenes, to help. It would be a developmental club. I'd want to try to have. Well, I guess it doesn't really work unless I made it myself.
Yeah. And why is that important to you?
Because I'd have to know how it works, inside, outside, right side, back side, to be able to help other people along the journey, because the journey's different for everyone. And so just having one complete understanding is barely shit.
Right.
But having none of an understanding is nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And why is helping other people so important to you?
Because I am already playing with the bank's time, going back to what we talked about off mic.
Yeah.
I'm I kind of had this weird story, but I took an elective in high school and had this teacher that was this quirky geologist dude from Boulder. And it was earth space science. And before I left on the last day to turn my project, he stopped me and he's like, you've got this weird power over your peers. And I don't know if you see this or whatnot, but when you go out into the world, use this for good, not bad. Because you could be a hedge fund manager and go to New York and just make as much as you want or do whatever. But just find a way to do that for good. And then I think that was part of what I was considering when I didn't follow through with applying to law school after I'd already tested and done all the work for it.
Okay.
And I was that's not doing good.
That's a defining moment, that conversation.
Yeah. Weirdly, right?
Yeah. I
didn't even think at the time it was.
We have a lot of power as people to do good or bad, right? Which is obviously subjective terms many times, except for the very obvious. And I think when we focus on, as comedians, doing good, there's so many parallels and other things that we could do. right? We could, we want to be positive. We want to make people laugh. We love that. It's easily turned the other way to be bad and to insult and to troll or to just like make people's lives terrible. And so I think it's important to recognize that, because it's like a fine line that you can like turn on yourself in that process as well, in that pursuit. Am I making any sense?
No,
here?
it's very deep sensical nature that you're getting at me with, because I almost think that it's almost always, I don't know, I struggle with this. And an example that, is it the fault of the person making the joke? Like, where's the humor? Where's the like majority of the weight of the humor lie? And then where we like get to assign fault behind that weight? And I don't know if the modern lay person's interpretation of, I get to come to a show as an audience member and comedian make jokes about subject that has like close tie to my life, I have right to be offended. I don't know if that like lay understanding is necessarily the right way to operate.
Sure.
I found a lot of joy in like trying to find the funny in the things I normally wouldn't agree are funny. Like, oh, I see why that's really geniusly funny, and I wouldn't have even gotten to that sense before because I'm looking at it in a new light. And I've had to necessarily dig into like people I initially thought I would not like and be like, why are they so fucking funny? And then be like, no, I'm going to find them funny. I'm going to get myself across why they're so funny, and then they're going to be, and that's helped me understand the art form, I think, a lot better. And given me appreciation for the diversity too, because it's like, dang, anyone can just, like, if you carve out you enough, you could be a stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of do think that sort of like that.
100%. There's someone for everybody.
Yeah.
Because we all have shared experiences that have subsects of, okay, like this group here is this, they've gone through this certain set of experiences or whatever it is. There's not only one person who's done one thing and then the only person who ever done it, what we were talking about at the beginning.
Right.
Let me ask you this. What guidelines do you have for yourself with, like, we can call it acceptable, not acceptable with comedy? I
mean, for me performing, what I've unintentionally fallen into is that I was like working clean. Like those guest setups I did, like my manager was like, you were doing clean. And so I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to try to dig into that. And instead of just being like, I'm flipping on here and like view myself, like cuss and curse or talk about the Mossad, whatever. But like, that's not for me to talk about on stage, or that's not productive to trying to make people laugh or have an enjoyable time. At this stage of me, have thought. So yeah, I'm just trying to do clean, and make people laugh clean.
I think working clean is important, because once you can work clean, you can make anything funny. Like it's, and this was a lesson taught to me by the other comics who work clean and make a great living. You can make anything clean dirty. It's hard to make things that are dirty clean.
And that's what I was like, oh, wow, it's actually way harder for me to say this joke clean, but it's way funnier too, because what I'm doing is now making the audience be dirty.
Yeah.
And that's fun. And I like that. That's my favorite kind of thing.
Room for the imagination, which is ultimately always funny. And also when you are clean, well, I take a step back.
Can I go back to your point about the good, bad?
Yeah.
I think it goes back to that point of like, well, now it doesn't matter what I'm joking about, because if I project the tough part of the thing, the part that would be the part that makes someone cry or upset by the thing, it's projected on the audience now to carry that burden, to make that leap.
Yeah.
Now it's definitely not my fault.
That's a great hands off. I like that a lot.
I'm conscious full up in here now.
I do like that. Yeah. I do like that. Set them up. That's my style. I like that. I feel that,
which is probably a very naive perspective, but I just wanted to be honest with you.
I don't think it's naive at all. I think when you give people room in their imagination, it will become funnier many times. Like when you don't bridge that, you leave certain gaps unbridged, and they fill in the blanks. It's funnier, and that's why we were talking at the beginning of being more. What I learned about being more comfortable and slower in delivery, giving people just a few seconds to put some pieces together or to imagine something in their mind, right? That's what we're doing. Our words are the paint colors. We're painting a picture It's that's the words we use are what the materials used to do that. So if we leave something out, it's just like let's call it abstract, or it's just like, wait, this could be interpreted in a couple different ways. And I have found that a lot of comedians, I do love a comedian who has a direct point of view on something and takes a stance. I do absolutely love that. I think it's tremendous value in our society. I also think that comedians who can play both sides do really well and can bring people together with that. And I think there's ultimately both those scenarios, both those types of comedians are bringing people together just by being in the room with them. But when I think there's something magical when someone can play both sides, because I used to take a hard line on certain issues, and I still do from time to time. You seem like
a passionate guy, so that makes sense to me. Yeah. In like a good way, And
it's helped me evaluate myself, though. Like now I make myself look at the other side. Well, even if I strongly disagree with it, well, I'm going to look and see what those arguments are, points, whatever they be, and how can I make fun of that? But also, how can I make fun of my own thing? Because I also have found that with my own positions, many times it's from some unreasonable memory I have. Like, I'm going to give the stupidest example. When I was 7, I was wearing jeans at King Soopers, the grocery store, and I had to pee so bad, and the men's room was locked, and I was too embarrassed to go in the women's room, so I pissed my pants at the grocery store, and I didn't wear jeans for 14 years afterwards because it was so bad. And so, I realized that a lot of my positions in life now can be tied to something that happened that is totally stupid, totally unreasonable. And when I drill down to that, that's where it's really funny.
Yes.
That's where it's really funny.
Totally.
And so I'm like, okay, well, how can in my own argument, what can I pick apart? Well, I didn't wear jeans for 14 years because I pissed my pants when I was 7 years old at the grocery store one time.
Yeah.
Why do I feel this way about this? And it helps me grow as a person.
Maybe you can help me find some funny in this. I haven't found a way to make this work yet, so we can do it live. Maybe we would find nothing, but I grew up in a suburban, very, very, very white upper middle class, kind of outside of Boulder. That's the vibe. The high school is very white, very upper middle class.
Drink some milk to that.
My parents got divorced in middle school or elementary school. And so I was commuting in from Brighton, Erie, and was different than some people in that way or whatever, but still well off as far as the United States goes. Well, I wanted 2 people to go to Iowa, and I meet these groups of people that didn't get to interact with that are from St. Louis and Chicago area. And my favorite group of people as a freshman were these 5 or 6 large black women from Chicago. And they were the funniest people on the face of the planet. And I will never be a 16th as funny as them. Yeah. And getting them ranting about something became my new favorite thing to do around dinner. I would sit with them, I'd talk to them, and I'd get them riled up about whatever it was and just let them go and just laugh with them and share in their frustrations and actually learn about that their lives. And I would never and I think my friends growing up in the suburbs would have thought that was racist. If they were sitting at the table next to me with all of their white friends from high school. Yeah. But it actually turned into breaking down what would have been me sitting at that other table calling the kid racist.
Right. Well, people like to use that term. Well, obviously there's a clear term of institutional suppression of people, and this is not my place to joke or talk about, and I'm overstepping bounds in this. No, I don't. I think I understand what you're saying, because this term I really enjoy now is virtue signaling.
I'm the generation of it, and I grew up in the thick of it.
Right. That same. Where it's about the presentation of being a good person and being well off. And so I don't know, just to guess, but maybe you enjoy, not only is that a different experience, what you just described, but not just because of the difference of white and black, but also because maybe in your family ranting wasn't something you did at the dinner table, where it was no, we don't do that. And so it's what was the behavior you experienced? And then you see other people acting differently. And it's so wild to you, where it's whoa, it does, it's just
Pat, you just helped me draw a connection between another thing I've already carved out about my stepdad. And we had a rule at dinner table growing up. It was, I think, a very constructive rule, healthy rule for discourse. It was, you can make any joke you like. You can make quib, bad, whatever. At the dinner table, we're all together. TV's off. But you got to do it in 5 seconds. Like, you can't call your sister a bitch 30 seconds after she said some horror, like, we got to keep it in a window here,
Yeah.
And my stepdad's closer to my age than he is my mom's age.
Yeah.
So, I've been trying to like connect the funny and this other bit I'm working on. And that's a good connection back of like, well, why did I could connect that back to my family. And we blurted out short. We didn't just keep going on. And like maybe word choice, or there's some funny like phrases that I learned that I would have never gotten in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
That are useful in life going forward.
Well, it's always like, just why do you feel the way you do about something? What is at the core? And that's just any part of comedy, I think, is like, you go to the psychological element, where, like, starting from childhood, why do we feel the way we do about certain things? What happened in our lives that create these ideologies, whatever you want to call it, beliefs, whatever you want to call it, really, perspectives, viewpoints. Why? Where did it come from? Most times it's from when we were kids and what we were raised in.
I think
we didn't know any better because we were just kids and we believed everything. And so we were like, oh, we believe that was right.
Yes.
And
when you talk about like maybe you like when people find both sides, or you bring people together by separating and then showing how both are silly.
Yeah.
Or like, point the mirror at both. And then everybody gets to kind of like come together. I think I was really disillusioned politically. Like, I like to learn and knew too much too young. And my family's relatively conservative. And then public school in Boulder was very liberal. I think the clash of that was like made me kind of sit in both camps and be like, you guys are both being silly.
Yeah,
you're very silly.
That's the key.
Like, you're way more like each other than you give each other credit.
You can find the silly.
Yeah. Hey, and that's where I'd like to dig into.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we're not hurting people. We're not like that's not our intention. It's not like I believe in the First Amendment is the First Amendment because it should be number one, because just the freedom of expression through words is so important. It makes us feel better. It helps us get over things, and that's why it's number one. Number two obviously involves a different method. Okay, that's it, but it's number two.
But it's supposed to be used against the government. Actually look into the amendment a little bit and do your research, folks.
It starts with well-regulated.
Yeah. Maintaining.
Yes. First words, well-regulated. Militia. Okay, obviously I have a position on that. But I have realized, like, the importance of, number one, freedom of expression. Let's be silly. We can talk about it. And like, my rule in comedy for myself is that I cannot say a joke about somebody, a group of people, whatever, that I have to be able to do it in front of them. I can't say a joke about a group of whatever, insert whatever, unless I have to be able to do it with them right in front of me. I have to do it to their face.
Yeah,
that's important to me because I do believe in communication.
That makes sense.
And if you have a problem, you talk about it and you work it out. That's a good rule, Pat.
That's a good rule for a young comic like me to take and carry forward.
Yeah.
Like, don't do a joke that you wouldn't do about something that isn't you.
Yeah.
Unless that type of group person can right face-to-face, one-on-one hear that joke, and then you can talk to that person.
Yeah. It's like helped me tremendously, because it's also like, well, why is this funny?
Yeah.
And I'm not out there, like, I'm doing it to make people laugh. Like, I do like Lewis Black of how he says, none of this matters. I saw him at the Paramount this past year. It was amazing. And he's like, none of this matters. I've been doing this for so long and I'm not changing anything. He's intelligent. He's got excellent, in my viewpoint, I agree with a lot of what he says. I think he makes excellent points. I think that people would benefit if they took action on what he said. But he says, I'm a comedian. Our role is to just point these things out and make fun of them, and make people laugh and like alleviate some of the stress. And so I try to live by that on stage. Because really it is about you never know when somebody had a really bad day and they came to a comedy show and it totally turned things around. Or maybe a comedian had a bad day and they like that laughter brings someone out of a bad spot where maybe they were going to do something bad.
Yeah.
Insert whatever nightmare situation you can think of.
Yeah. And
they went to a comedy show and they laughed. They were able to mourn a loss. I think it's so important. And so that's why I love it so much.
Yeah, and it's gotten me through mourning losses and the toughest parts of life, and it is a coping mechanism.
Yeah,
and I'm getting into a long-term, lifelong thing with my better half that's a mental health, and knows more about that and is maybe would disagree that it's a good coping mechanism. But I think it's the coping mechanism that's the healthiest I could choose among coping mechanisms as an Irish, Cuban descendant that hates power. I ain't taking any CEOs out. My name's not Luigi. Come on.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing the right thing, folks. We're just talking. We're having fun.
Just jokes. They're just jokes, and it's all in good fun.
I'm never going to own a home anyway. What am I really going to do? Come on. Just let me joke.
Yeah, and I think that's important. That's why I love it. And it helps me, I think, when we ask the questions. Why do we do? Why is this funny? Where does this come from? Like, oh, I realize something about myself. Oh, shit, that's why I think like that. Oh, fuck, that's ridiculous. Oh, you know what? Actually, I don't feel that way about this position anymore now that I actually took some time to think about it and talk about it. And, and then you go out on stage after you do it and you try that new position, and all of a sudden it crushes harder than the 2 years of the way you'd been doing it before. And it's just because you took a little more time to go a little bit deeper and figure out where it came from. And it's in that way makes it more relatable to everybody. So that's what I have to say about that.
The best extended metaphor, and we love, extended metaphors of this show.
Who doesn't? EMs?
It's the only art form, and the best metaphor to explain stand-up to even a lay person would be, it's the only art form where you don't know what instrument you're playing until you become a master at it, and then suddenly the instrument reveals itself. And you're like, oh shit, it's an oboe. It's been an oboe this whole time. And when I play it, I should know how to, I know how to play the oboe.
Oboe, you better believe it.
Oh shit, this crushes.
Yeah.
And that's the only art form that's like this.
Yeah.
I think.
It's your voice. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Metaphor? Which one?
It's quite the aperture there on that analogy.
Wow. Oh, the hands are coming out.
I don't know how to make this work, but it's been making me giggle thinking about Trump meeting with President Xi of China and bringing Dora characters to the fray for some reason.
Xi Jinping?
Being like, yeah. President Xi is a swiper. Swiper, meet Xi. No more swiping, Xi. Boots and Dora are standing back and standing by. That's a big bag. Wow, I know. That's backpack. Almost certainly a map in there. I don't know. It just makes me fucking giggle thinking about Trump talking about American pop culture from the early 2000s.
I'm glad you got to have that moment.
Oh, dude. We're all fucked. I'm cheering for funny.
Oh, buddy. I've really enjoyed this. This has been delightful.
I need to come up with more world leaders and characters. That's how I actually make that bet work.
Okay.
Get a Trudeau meeting with another, or explaining another character.
Imitate every world leader.
4 or 5 of them. Yeah, that would actually be funny. It's not funny now.
Yeah, and insert some language from each country.
Bingo.
And sayings and vernacular.
Get some Portuguese. I can do my Malay.
Yeah, buddy, you can do anything you want. That's the other beauty of stand-up, is we can do anything. We have everything to work with. We do. It's like, oh, you have an idea. Again, go deeper on it. Well, how can I make this one word funny? Well, maybe I say it in 3 different languages. Maybe I say it in 14 different tones. Maybe I do we can always go deeper.
Yes.
We can always bring more, and we can have an idea, and we can try it out immediately. And we can see, well, how far can I take this? What can I do? Right? You're only limited by your vocabulary and your basically ability to communicate. That's the only limit, really.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's awesome. It's so awesome.
So sick.
Yeah. So sick.
As someone that's a perfectionist, and we talked about, getting to the point of where you're doing something good enough, and you just full send, because, I would stuck myself in a rut forever if I wouldn't have a show, or wouldn't get all the learning if I didn't just start doing. Just start doing stuff. If you've got an idea out there, if you want to do something, just start doing it.
Start doing it. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. But you won't figure it out if you don't start.
Yeah, totally.
And it's hard because when you get depressed and you get sad, and it's hard to imagine starting anything seems impossible, and then you sit on it, and you sit on the proverbial couch, and the weight gets heavier and heavier and heavier, and it feels like you can't do anything. But then one day you just I got to get up. I'm getting bed sores.
Yeah.
And then you start, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, that's kind of an interesting thing. And then all of a sudden that interesting thing leads you to something else that you've never seen before. And then all of a sudden you're totally engaged, and you've totally forgotten about the couch.
I was challenged with a really tough question from a guest recently, and maybe you might have a better answer than I did. But like, how do you kick someone out of those? Like, if someone is in that cycle of stuck in a rut or on the couch, proverbial couch, how do you help, or is there anything you can do to help kick them into that first bit of expansion beyond the couch stuckness?
So helping someone else, I would think that the best answer is just asking them to go for a walk.
I like that.
Because really you can't help someone that doesn't want to help themselves, but you can go in for a walk and talk. Usually you're going to get a yes, or like, hey, maybe I can come over. Oh, that's the other thing. If they don't want to leave, hey bud, I'm just come over. I had a friend who went through just a lot, and he wouldn't answer his phone. And so I would just show up at his house from time to time. Not like I'm a hero or anything like that, but that was like, I would have to like bang on his door and then like send a message. I'm at your front door right now. Answer the door. And sometimes you got to do that, right? But like a walk, that's my answer.
See if they really want to go for a walk. Yeah.
Because ultimately they can't, you can't help someone that won't help themselves.
And then you do have to just get them physically, I think, out of, that was my answer, is like, well, they got to physically get out of the space. And then if you physically take yourself into a new situation that you have in some way excitement for, in some way, you're going to get some, secondary or tertiary thing that you didn't expect. And like you said, that's going to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Great question too.
Yeah.
Which guest asked, who asked you that?
I think that was Tanner or someone recently that asked me that we were digging into stuff, and he was challenged me at that. It was like, yeah, wow, I don't know. It's a tough answer. But going on a walk, it's one of those foundational level things that I think we often overlook.
Yeah. All right. Now here's a question for you. With setting this wonderful setup, the show, all the work involved, what have you learned about yourself in this process since you started?
I've learned that even if I never, made it as a stand-up, or never, got to have a career in stand-up, I do think I have a skill set with that aperture of my mind and maybe something to offer in my love for comedy. And so maybe I could become like comedy's Narnward someday, where like I just like have to know why, your teacher said something to you or whatever.
Yeah.
And it became one of your biggest bits or whatever, because it's important to me, from a free speech level to a joy and human level. I think it's the most important thing, and it makes us have everything else that's good in the world.
Yeah. So, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing, right? How much can we learn about ourselves in the process?
And dude, no one watches my show. My show's not big. It's like, but dude, it's like, that's not what's important.
It's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's not. If you set out to do something like this, and your initial goal is, oh, I want so many other people to watch it, and that's what you focus on, you will set yourself up for such
tough mental battles.
Insert negative. And but if you set out to do something like this because you enjoy it, you think you can get something out of it, you got to be selfish. You have to. It's okay to be selfish. It's the airplane model, right? Like the oxygen of take care of yourself first, because if you let other people dictate what's going to happen with your product, with your creation, oh man, I've done it, and that's why I say it. Like it's just setting yourself up for a terrible failure. But if you do it for other reasons, learning because you enjoy it, you like talking with people, you make great wings, you like that, you enjoy all of it. Oh man, it's just like it's so much more positive for you. And then like, the cliche saying of like, chase the money will run faster, but chase the dream, the money will chase you. It's like that. It's like, oh, well, we view things in, how many views did I get? How many shares did I likes? All that. The dopamine fixes on that. But ultimately, people like watching people have fun. People like watching people who are like really enjoying what they're doing, because that's what we all want to do.
Yes. So
you're like, well, what is that person doing? That's what we're drawn to. Wow, they like really seem to be having a good time here. Like, wow, this person like really learning whatever your jam is, and you see someone else doing it. It's inspiring, and it brings us together. And so, man, that's a very long-winded way of me saying I dig what you're doing, man.
Oh, I appreciate you. From a market research level of myself, I was like consuming so many of these podcasts. I was like, well, why? And then I stepped back and thought a little deeper. I was like, well, I like this so much, and why does everybody else seem to be drawn to these? And it's like, oh dang, it's just people being people.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you just have to get good people being people, and like engaging with things that are interesting and passionate to them, and that the people will eventually come around to it. It seems like.
Yeah, ask good questions. Yeah, I mean, like I always say, Tim Ferriss has great. He's obviously very successful, but I tell you, he talks about himself way too much, and it's like I'm sick of hearing about him tangoing in Argentina and sumo wrestling and drinking Malbec and selling supplements, and it's like I just would listen to because I loved his guests, and I was like, man, this guy obviously successful, set the model. I'm not even close, right? Like so I'm not shitting on him.
Yeah.
I am saying though that would frustrate me, and I appreciate that you ask a lot of questions. It's not about you. It's like, and there are a lot of people who's just like, oh, it's like, I'm going to have a guest, but really this guest is just a camera cut. So it's not just me talking the whole time.
Pat, I wish sometime, thank you. That's a very kind compliment. I would like to do an even better job about that.
I think you did great,
I have to listen to myself back. I'm like, shut up and ask a question.
That'll change it quickly. Yeah. When you do your own editing.
Yeah.
You know what? I can talk better.
Yeah. Hey, learn to communicate, guy.
I can talky better.
Yeah. You should read a book there, dumbass.
So that's another thing though, like, because you do your own editing. I think that's a tremendous asset as a comedian, because you're forced to watch yourself, and then you can realize, oh, I can cut this out.
Yeah.
So you can edit your, what is it? It's a double entendre. When like you're editing your set as you're editing your set. My comedy has tenfold improved since I did my own editing. Oh, I didn't need to say all that shit. I can just cut this part out, and it's way funnier. I can have this whole 30-second chunk, and when I see it, I'm watching myself. Oh fuck, that's what I'm going to do, because I had to learn how to edit. So that you're doing it, I think, that's why I emphasize for any comics coming up, do your own editing, because it makes a difference.
Yeah,
it makes such a difference. You take so much control, and you improve so much as a performer.
It's like an early theme of the show before it was just me and my friends doing it. It's like, get the side XP of life. Like, that's the cool parts of life.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the cool part of the creative process too. It turns out
part of the creative process too.
It's all these unintentional side XP.
Yeah. Oh, buddy, this has been great.
I don't want to keep you too long, but I'm just fucking enjoying talking to you. I want to ask you a little bit about your time at Second City.
Sure. So I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live, and the Second City, they have their production where, people pay tickets, and very professional people, and very professional, like Saturday Night Live Farm Ground. And that was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do that. And I went, and you can take classes there. And so you just sign up, you just pay your money, like, $400 for, like, I don't know, let's just say it's like a 12-week course, and there's different levels. And I had the delusion that I was going to get, like, picked for Saturday Night Live based on, like, the first week of class. I just thought, oh, if I'm going to put myself in this position, I'm going to be it. That's it. Laura Michaels going to come right in. Pat Treuer, you don't even have to audition.
Look at this guy.
Yeah. And it did not happen. And spoiler alert. So then I really enjoyed a lot of the people I met, all walks of life, the students, and I enjoyed my teachers very much.
Had you done improv before that or no?
No, I had not.
Okay.
I'd done zero improv, and it was really just that Saturday Night Live goal, and I wasn't doing stand-up. I had gotten away from that, and then as I was going through the class,
the level 100.
Level 1, yeah. It's like 6. I think there's 6 levels.
Okay.
I can't remember. And so I was going through, and like on my 3rd level, I had a friend come visit me in Chicago, and she's like, oh, I want to go to Second City. And she was under the impression, and I had not given her this impression for the record, that I was in the performing cast. And so I brought her to Second City, and I got the tickets. We didn't get any sort of special discount and then we're buying these expensive drinks. And she's like, well, you're not on the show. I was like, no, why did you think that? I'm just taking classes here. And she's like, well, this is kind of like a Disneyland of comedy, isn't it? And it made me like look around and go, oh, fuck. Yeah, it really is, because they make a lot of money from those classes. And I started kind of seeing other students who didn't have who were working 2 or 3 jobs to pay. They had moved to Chicago to go to Second City, and this was their dream. And they were working so hard so they could attending 2 classes in one session, or just call it a semester, was like a big financial commitment for them. And I was like, wow, this is kind of fucked. And I was like, yes, the teachers were great, and the people I met were great. I was like, this is a substantial revenue stream for them. And things kind of started to change in my mind of and then I would talk to people about how do you get on that production cast? And you got to really stand out. But a lot of times we pull people that aren't even from Second City. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, so you kind of got to go make your name, or if you go through the program, you can get on the touring company. But the touring company, and just what people told me. So I'm not saying this is absolutely what it is, but they're like, yeah, they don't make very much money, and they're traveling around, and it's really not all that glamorous. And I was like, that sounds fucking awful to me. I just had this corporate world where, yes, I had every really nice everything. And I was like, I don't want to fucking travel around in a van with a bunch of people and stay at shitty hotels. And I know it sounds very fucking pompous, but I was like, wait a minute, how much money are they making? And so the disenfranchised, I started becoming disenfranchised with the idea of it. And I was like,
the sheen wore off.
Yeah,
the glimmer was gone.
Yeah, the glimmer was gone and that was just mine. And I know it's done a lot for a lot of great people, so I'm not complaining about it. That was just how it affected me.
Right.
And I did IO theater, and
what's that?
IO is Improv Olympic.
Okay.
And it was Del Close, and I can't remember the woman's name who owns it now, but a lot of Amy Poehler, and what's the only name I can remember right now? Oh, Chris Farley, and I think Sudeikis. They were also just also another improv, and the IO has a forum called the Herald. And the Herald is basically a 3-part act. It's all improv. And essentially you have to figure out how you're going to connect all 3 parts. Right? So as you know, it's we're going to take a suggestion. That's what everyone thinks. Oh, water bottle. Okay, water bottle. You got a whole team, 8 people, and all these scenes unfold, and you can kind of clap to the next one. And then all of a sudden something happens, and you could take the next scene would be oh, this is that scene 10 years in the future. Whatever, it's whatever you want.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And the saying, I think it was Del Close, was that good improv is building an airplane when you're already in the air. And comedians love shitting on improv. And I think that the comedians who do that are shit comics, because it is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped me. And again, Second City, also these classes helped me, improv, come up with worlds that didn't exist. And so, if it's, let's just say it's crowd work, someone says one thing, I can build a scene on the spot based on that one thing that was said, because of all those classes that I took and all the wonderful teachers and the programs that were designed. And that was the very positive from Second City and from IO of oh, I can build something out of nothing and really act it out.
And that helps your crowd work now, I bet.
1,000%. 1,000. It helps all elements of my comedy, just from an imagination standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay, how do I really get this wound up? How do I up the stakes on this?
Yeah.
Right. And I took some writing classes as well, which helped tremendous. I had a teacher. His name was Michael McCarthy. He worked on Sesame Street, Saturday Night Live, just his impressive resume. And he taught a SNL writing class where we would essentially write an episode of Saturday Night Live. And it was a 10-person class in the back of this little theater space. And he's my favorite teacher that I've ever had. And he was so sharp and so funny, and taught me how to write and to be funny, not just on a stand-up format, but any format of here's how you edit yourself. This is what you get to, find the core of things. Does it matter to you or not? And then he would have us, every week we'd have kind of a weekend update style. Our homework was read the front page of the New York Times and write 10 jokes.
Oh, dude.
Set up, punchline, set up, punchline. And then we'd all compare our jokes and we'd kind of see if like, okay, there's always going to be some jokes that are like right off the top, easy for everyone to find. But like, how far do you dig from your perspective to find another joke that's deeper? And so like really think about it.
So you got to like see through that process. Like, oh, these are the good jokes.
Yeah.
The good jokes are not the jokes that everybody can get to.
Yeah. What's the second thing you think of? What's like when you spend some time getting on it? And so, and why do you think that way? And how do you use as few words as possible to communicate that point, the joke, whatever it may be? And so, I grew, my comedy grew a lot. And anyways, in IO, at the end, you get a run. And then at the end of your run, 8 shows with everyone in your class where the public can come through. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they say, okay, you get a team, which is like essentially like a little bit of a residency in their theater. And I was one of 2 people who didn't make it on. And first I was bummed. First I was angry.
Yeah.
And then I realized, yeah, this isn't what I want to do. I needed that decision to be made for me because I wasn't making it. I'm an only child. I love attention. I love positive attention. I want to be a stand-up comedian. I don't want to rely on my teammates.
Lots of parts.
Lots of parts. I do like working with other comedians on stage, but like I want to like have my act. I don't want to be an actor. I don't want to say other people's words. I want to say my words. I don't want to have to memorize something else that someone else wrote for me. I wanted everything. I want it mine. I'm a selfish little kid. I want it to be mine. And then I started taking stand up really seriously because of that. But all those skills I learned, improvisation and go deeper, that all came from Second City and IO and my time in Chicago. And then I just went as hard as I could on stand up. I had a goal of 500 shows in a year. Or mics, just behind a microphone, and I hit 481 in 14 months. And I realized at the end of that it's really just about being comfortable on stage. Yes, I had learned how to tell jokes and write jokes and be spontaneous from years of being funny with my friends and just enjoying it. But the value of that 481 was being comfortable on stage, being comfortable in silence, being comfortable when people aren't paying attention. Whatever the scenario is, being able to be there because, people smell it right away. The audience knows if someone's not comfortable and they're off, they smell it right away.
Totally. That's the one thing I've learned seeing as much comedy as I have at this stage of my life is like, wow, it's so much closer than magic than we give it credit for. And it's driven by you. And they can tell right away. Like they bloodhounds. Immediately. You give them a glimmer of doubt at all. Or like whatever, like, and recently I've been trying this like mental thing. I was reading and trying to work through this. Like, oh, I'm not as comfortable as I felt like I was a bit ago or whatever. What's that? I was like, oh, okay. I almost need to have like a mental thing where like I'm stepping through a ring before I get to the mic of like I'm Superman.
Yeah,
like it's like pure, supreme confidence type of thing. Otherwise, it's like nope, they're gonna smell it out.
Yeah, it's your stage. You step on the stage, you grab the microphone. As soon as you grab that microphone, it is yours. It's your responsibility. You are responsible for everything that happens, and find comfort. Show people you're comfortable, and it makes a huge difference. Find comfort in the silence. I used to be scared of the silence on stage. I would be like, oh no, that joke didn't hit. I need to speed up to the next one.
So much more valuable just like sit and
let it sit. And sometimes like you let it sit and people will just start laughing. They'll laugh at nothing. And it's like, oh, maybe because you just made a look on your face or scratched your head and someone will just giggle a little bit. You didn't, you were just because you're comfortable. And then because you're comfortable, they're comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah. It's huge. It's huge. So, yeah, but that's a great, having a mindset. I step on the stage. I'm Superman. Whatever you want to be, whatever is powerful to you, and what you want to like. That's your opportunity. That's your time. That's like there's so many comparisons that can be made, but that's your space. That's your home. That's what we live for.
That's a better way to put where I'm trying to communicate across in my head. It's like it's that Happy Gilmore. I'm the ball, and I just need to get in my home.
Mm-hmm. Your home, ball.
Like, that's my home,
that's
dude.
your home.
Like, why are you worried about this? That's your home,
That's
dude.
your
Like,
home.
why is your heart pittering before you go on? That's your home,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, that's it, and that's it. And you realize that, and things just become a lot easier. It's, it's never perfect, but you figure it out.
Well, since we're recording this right before the new year, do you have any like New Year like hopes or resolutions, things you're trying to accomplish? The 481 in 14 months, that makes me think I need to set a hard number and try to reach something this next year and grind towards that comfortability as a goal. So I can look back and say, oh, you kept the pot alive, and also now you're more comfortable.
Yeah. Hopes for the new year with comedy. Well, we talked about, I got my board, the Roadcaster Duo, and so I want to have a solid hour by June with that. And be out at least 5 nights a week. What I fucking love about Denver is our independent scene, and open mics. Like, civilians come to open mics. That's unbelievable to me. Where like I love going to Monkey Barrel on Thursday nights, and like there are 30 people there to watch an open mic.
It's a great open mic.
It's a great
Garrett's
open mic.
been a guest of the show.
Hey, I think Garrett, I appreciate all the work that he's putting in of like running good mics. He does the work, and he creates opportunities for us to go and try things, and he gets audience members to come, which in those 481, I would say probably 420 were open mics. And I would say of those 420 open mics, there was 200 people. So you do the math on that. That's less than that's not even one per show that was like, not a comedian. So when there's someone there to watch comedy and at an open mic, what a treat that is. And so I enjoy going to the open mics in Denver. It's not this like miserably depressing experience. It's fun. And there's people there, and it's like, wow, I can really try this out. So I want to be out 5 nights a week, have an hour by June with the board, figure out some more technical aspects. I'm trying to integrate auto-tune into that. I just learned how like a digital audio workstation, a DAW. I've just learned that, and like how I can connect it to the board. And
what's your DAW?
I just got it. Yeah,
this is a free agent for his DAW, folks.
I'm a free agent.
If you're a DAW provider and you're listening to this,
DAW, digital audio workstation,
DMs,
and I want to start playing piano on stage.
Ooh,
as well. So those are my 3 goals: the board, an hour, 4 goals, 5 nights a week, in piano. Yeah, man. What else? Yeah, for you, what are yours?
Well, I'm going to get married. So,
all right.
Gotta, keep that in the context of all my creative and other aspirations. I think I have a problem of feeling like I'm falling behind because I try to put my hands in too many pots sometimes. So it's like, I might have to be like, oh, okay, well, I do 1 pod a week and I'm okay with that if over the course of a year, versus 2 pods a week and hit, 1 more mic a week that I would have otherwise not been able to hit or whatnot. But ultimately, if I can keep the show going, and keep my jobs and pay rent and bills.
Yeah.
It's too easy to be feeling like you're falling behind in like the climate, that and the uncontrollable nature of whatnot. So I think I want to just try to be finding more people like you that I'm grateful I get to talk to. And then I'm just excited about life, whether it involves 60 hours of work a week or not.
Yeah. Excitement for life. I think that's important.
So,
I think that's really important, right?
Yeah.
It fuels everything. If you're not happy, then everything else it becomes more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think those are great goals. Yeah, man. And the 1 pod or 2 pod, whatever it is, as long as you enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Don't make yourself hate it.
Yes. That's really sound, deep, beautiful advice. It's very important, folks. Have you heard of this silly little country called England, Pat?
Yes, I have.
Well, they have this silly little thing they do called knighting.
Okay.
Here at Top Shelf Studios, after a long form conversation, I'm doing the hiding.
Okay.
Because all of my life, people have been like, hey, can I get a couple inches?
It looks like a cattle prod.
Because of all this tall frame, this vehicle that I drive every day. People ask me if I play basketball.
Okay.
And so what I've learned, now that I've got this prefrontal lobe, like we mentioned earlier, is aperture.
Yeah.
I'm like, we judge each other on these vehicles. That's really not what we are. Like, it's like what we judge each other more on than anything else.
Yeah.
It's just meat stacks we drive around. And it's like, oh, wow, okay. So after a long form conversation with my guest, I'm just pleased to give you a heart height. How tall do you stand physically?
You want me to answer?
How tall do you?
Usually 6'2". I say usually because it depends on what time of the day I measure.
All right. Pat Treuer, I heart height thee 7 foot.
Wow.
He's part of the 7 foot club, folks.
The commandment Dumbo's
Large heart over here. Clearly cares about.
You pulled that out, and I was like, "Oh, here it comes! I'm in the basement. He's going to film it. It's all over." It's.
Pat, have you heard of a gimp? After a long form conversation, you're going to get in this leather suit.
I saw that hook. I was like, "Oh man, it was going so good. It was going so good. How did I fall for this? I always fall for these things.
It's always the chicken wings, man.
Like, fuck. Yeah, I was like, I am getting sleepy. Oh, I can't feel my legs. God damn it,
dude.
No, this has been great, buddy.
Thank
I really
you so
appreciate.
much.
Hey, that food was excellent. Yeah, 12 out of 12. And
where can the people check you out and follow your stuff? I want people to see your projects, anything that you can share with them.
Well, just personally, Instagram at Real Funny Pat, because I'm a narcissist. And that's where I post pretty much just clips. And then the big project that I worked on that's available on YouTube, a series that we shot, 7 episodes, Alonzo Bowden, Morgan J., Chris Turner, Calvin Evans, Janae Burris, Angel Gaines. Just some comedians that I have no business being on shows with. They're all so good. And we filmed this seven episodes, and they're available on YouTube at Of the Comics, the @ of the Comics. And please watch that. I worked so hard on it. And if you're a comic, the second half of the show is a round table with all these comedians with like centuries of experience, essentially, and they share all the lessons they learned. And so it's I learned so much from it, and I put it out there. I hope other people can learn from it. And
well, that's homework, mandatory. I am embarrassed to say I haven't seen it all, so it's going to be my homework too. So if you're a fan of the show, do your homework.
7 episodes. Yeah, we got 2. They're called My African American Experience. 1 clean, 1 not clean. We got 70 cents on the dollar. All women line up, and co-produced with Janae. And then the My African American Experience was co-produced with Angel Gaines out of Los Angeles. And then we got music and comedy, which is Morgan J., Chris Turner, and Armando Anto. And then we did the pilot episode at Zanies in Chicago, and that was myself, Vic Pandya, Calvin Evans, Dana Eagle, who writes for Wanda Sykes, Maggie DePaulo, and Angel Gaines as well. And so, yeah, it's just simple concept, stand-up comedy in the first half, and then a round table in the second half.
That's awesome.
And so that was the past 3 years of my life, but now I'm just focused on me as a performer because I've done everything I can do with that. But yeah, please give it a watch. I would appreciate it.
Well, Pat, I'm very excited to watch that, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Sorry I didn't already know about it, dude.
You don't need to apologize for anything.
Well, please go check him out and support him. If you get to see him around Denver, he's going to probably have his awesome board with him, I hope, because, man, he's building that hour, folks.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very, very excited about it, man. So that's it, buddy. That's
the best.
That's all
thanks for being here.
Man, thanks for having me. This has been really delightful. I really appreciate this very much.
Please come back whenever, or send anyone else that you think might like chicken wings or fun conversation my way.
Absolutely. All the above, man. This is really great, buddy. I hope you're really proud of this.
Dude, and his heart grew 3 sizes that day, folks. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Fuck off and be well.